All right. So thank you everybody for coming in and joining us. This is Erin Gilson. She is the founder of 614 Mom, and she is also the owner of Erin Gilson Consulting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she basically makes magic happen for your content, for your blog. She has courses on blogging, but she also helped me arrange she basically did everything for a photo shoot, and I have been getting so many compliments on
Oh,
those
good.
pictures every time I post them, and they're every single time. So it's just she's
That's
amazing. She is like a visual brand guru, especially if you're looking to level up your social media, your Instagram, the way it looks and the way you get interactions. She's amazing with that. And today she's going to be talking about creating your social media, the content calendar. And if you have any questions for her afterwards, feel free to reach out to her. I did not introduce myself. I don't think.
No,
I'm
but
just
you did a really good job
fangirling
introducing
over
me.
Erin.
Can you just like follow me around everywhere? That was
Yeah.
so nice.
My name is Yasmin Robles. I'm the owner of Robles Designs, where I take amazing photos that Erin's clients get that she has arranged for them, and I transform them into an amazing looking website. So, and then I am also the founder of the Digital Hustle Tribe, where we get together. We used to get together and drink wine. Now we can drink wine from home in our pajamas. And you can follow me at Robles Design Studio on Instagram, and you can browse and see and try to pick out the photos that Erin helped put together, and I bet you can figure it out. Okay, so Erin, why don't you take it away and tell us all about how to manage our social media content?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in. So I love open dialogue and conversation. So when I am done with this, feel free to ask any questions and kind of we can troubleshoot on the spot. So my laptop died in the middle of the stay-at-home order, so I ordered a new one, but the camera's not working. So I'm gonna do my thing from here, but I'm gonna zoom here. So when I'm not looking at you, I promise. But you are gonna get this PDF. You can from Yasmin after this is done. I'm gonna send it to her. So you guys will all have this. So feel free to take notes or just wait for this to come your way, whatever works best for you. So before we jump into like content creation, I think we have to take a small step back and just look at your strategy as a whole for social media. So the few things that I tell people to do before they just jump right into creating content, figuring it out, is because there's so many things that you could do on social. There's so many things you could do in your business, period. But when we're talking about an online presence, there's so many ways that you can put your efforts. But if that's not where your target market is, or that's not, where you're getting sales, it may just be getting awareness, kind of just figuring out what those goals are. So before we do content creation, we always have to start with a strategy. So a few things in creating your social media strategy. One is conducting a social media audit. So, and I'm going to go over some questions that you can ask yourself while you're doing that. Two is figuring out who your target market is, because if your target market is one demographic that's mainly on Facebook, but you're putting all of your interest into Twitter, it's really not going to do any good. So just kind of figuring out who they are and where they are. And then setting your goals. In the document that you're going to get, it's going to come with like a chart, and it'll go over like, if your goal is awareness, then this is what we need to do, and this is how we're going to measure it. So I think that'll be helpful too when you're talking content and just getting it all figured out. And then creating content and start planning. So for your social media audit, a few things that you want to look at. Which platforms are you currently on? And are your names consistent? Now, I don't mean like they have to be identical, just consistent to where people know that it's the same business. Is the profile picture the same and the username is similar enough, or are everything looks different and you're like, wait a minute, is this for the right business or not? I'm not sure. So we want to make sure that you stay consistent across the board. what platforms are your target market engaging with? Look at your analytics and you can kind of see what days of the week and times your audience are on and where they are, and kind of how they're engaging. Your target market may look more at Instagram stories and Instagram feeds. That may just be where they go when they get there. So putting more effort in that section of social media would be beneficial. In which case the content creation looks completely different than if you were to put them in a Instagram post or a Facebook post. Because Instagram stories can be more interactive. So instead of just a post where it's a call to action, the Instagram story is a little bit more interactive on each slide. So something to note. And then based off of your target market, are you where you need to be? Are you on the right platform? Are you connecting with that target market on that platform? And then are your current posts aligning with your goals? So every post that you have on social media should have a call to action. And that call to action should align a little bit with your goals and what you're looking for. We'll talk about that again in a minute. And then just kind of note when you're doing this audit, which social media posts are doing the best. So those are a few things that you want to look at when you're doing your own social media audit. And again, you'll get this checklist tonight or tomorrow or something. So I want to go down to the goal thing a little bit really quick, and then I'll jump into like content and fun stuff and ask all, you guys can ask all the questions. But a few things: if your business goal is to drive sales and get leads for your business, then we need to look at conversion. So are you getting website clicks? Are you getting email signups? Like that's how we're going to measure the success of the Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or TikTok like platforms and the success. Which I'm really curious when we get into the Q&A if anyone uses TikTok as a platform for their business and if they've thought about it. It's just an interesting question to me that I think would be fun. If you want to turn your customers into like fans, like you want them to share your stuff, you want them to be excited about it, then we need to look and see if people are mentioning you on Facebook. Are they commenting on your stuff? Are they tagging other people in your stuff? We need to kind of look at that and see if that's not happening, why? Maybe it's not happening because we're not explicitly telling them that we want them to do that. And sometimes that's all it needs to be, is just share it. If you love it, share it. Because sometimes they just don't think about it. They loved it, but to them as content creators, we of course automatically want everyone to share our stuff. But to people that aren't doing this every day, they love it, but they're like, okay, I liked it. And then they move on. But if we say very clearly, like, this is your next step, it really helps. That call to action, man. I talk about it all the time. Jody took my blogging course, so she could probably vouch for that. And then if we want to improve customer retention, then we need to work on reviews and testimonials and really kind of get some of that stuff going. And then if we just want to grow the brand, right? We just want awareness. We want as many people to know about it as possible. Then your measurement are followers, which is funny because a lot of times people think that you just need as many followers as possible, which is not necessarily the case. You just need engaged followers. So I talk really fast, guys, because I love this stuff. But the engagement rate is much more important than a follower count. So if you have 10,000 followers and you have 10 people liking your post, that's really not doing a whole lot for your social media strategy. But if you have 500 people and 250 of them like every post that you do, then that's really great, right? So you need to look at that engagement rate and see kind of where that is and if people are really loving what you're putting out there. Otherwise, we need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe it's not even tweaking the content. Maybe, again, it's just tweaking the copy or the writing or the call to action. So just a few things. Right, so when you're talking about a content calendar, this is the easiest way that I can recommend you start, is to think about like the 5 most important parts of your business that you want to get out there. So let's use 614 Mom, which is the website that I own and write for. We'll use that as an example. So for 614 Mom, the 5 biggest pieces that we talk about the most: mental health, Columbus, kids, mom life. Sorry, I had to think about it. And then like lists and gift guides and things. So we have those 5 different pieces of what we do, what I do, and what I write about. So every day, so if I'm looking at a calendar Monday through Friday, and we're just going to call it Monday through Friday to make it easy, you may want to post Saturdays and Sundays instead of like a Tuesday, but again, that's individual. So for sake of this conversation, we'll just do Monday through Friday. And you have Monday. Now, let me take this. I'm going to say like Monday, I'm going to talk about mental health this week. Tuesday, I'm going to talk about Columbus. Wednesday, I'm going to talk about kids. Thursday, I'm going to talk about mom life. And Friday, I'm going to give you a list of things that you have to have. Okay, so I made that super easy on myself because those are the 5 things that we talk about the most, or the most important parts of the business. And I've broken that down into content. However, the next week, it probably wouldn't be mental health on a Monday. It would be, you know, a list of some sort, or something about Columbus, or something completely different. But mixing that up, but using that as your very base guideline for the content you're creating. And I find that when you have themes like that, even just in your own head, you don't have to hashtag it like mental health Monday to make it in your head and in your system work. It can just be something you know that you're doing. Now, I would also say that I would not necessarily recommend posting every, you know, I only talk about Columbus on Wednesdays, because maybe the people that really care about the stuff I'm saying about local business, they're really on a Sunday afternoon. So that's really when I should be talking about it. But you're not going to know that unless you play with it and you kind of figure that out. And then you ask your audience, you ask them questions. That's where Instagram stories can be super valuable, because it gives you a place to ask for immediate feedback. Like, what do you want to hear about? Do you like this topic? Yes or no? And it depends on your business on if that could be like kind of a gut punch, or if it's kind of like, okay, I can take that, you know? But it's really just important to kind of have that base layer. And I say 5 because it's 5 weekdays, so it makes sense. You can do 3. I wouldn't recommend going any lower than 3 on a content calendar 3 times a week. And so that's kind of my thought there, right? So you have your 5 key pieces. You have your content calendar laid out, and then you want to start making it easier on yourself, because I don't know about you guys, but social media can totally, I run social media for a lot of different businesses, and it can take over your life if you let it, right? So you have to kind of create these systems to be able to free yourself of it and not have to work so hard at it every single day. So I typically take an hour. So I like for clients to do a photo shoot once a quarter. If their business changes seasonally, if it doesn't, then once or twice a year is a good number, as long as we get a lot of variety in the photos. But once a quarter is a really good guideline to do a big photo shoot. Whether you're in the photo shoot or not, that depends on your business. But you know, you wouldn't want a photo of you in a chunky sweater out in the snow in June. That just wouldn't make sense unless it was like a throwback Thursday kind of deal. But you would have seasonal photos that you can throw out there. And there's so many ways. We could talk about photo shoots too, Yasmin, like so many ways that you can get a lot of photos in a short amount of time. But by doing those, you have a whole folder on your computer that you can pull from for content. And then you sit down every month and you're like, okay, so I'm talking about Columbus this day, and I'm talking about kids on this day. So I need a picture, and I need to figure out what I'm going to talk about this particular day. So that week it may be Teacher Appreciation Week. So you may be talking about kids in the sense of how they love their teachers and are giving, want to celebrate their teachers. You may be talking about Columbus and talking about Nurses Day, right? And then talking about how much you're so thankful for the nurses in Columbus. So you can kind of tie it into things so it doesn't come off. You don't want it to sound like it's pre-recorded or like you want it to feel like it happened that day without having to work so hard at it every single day. Does that make sense? And so, but by doing the photo shoots, you have the photo to go with it. Then you write the copy, you have your call to action, you throw it in a scheduler, and then you guys don't have to touch it anymore. You just get to browse social media for fun and respond back to people and like engage with other profiles and things like that on a day-to-day basis, but you don't have to worry about the stress of figuring out content, because I think that sometimes that limits us, because when we feel like, okay, I have to get content out today, then it's like, well, I don't have anything to write about. There's nothing, because you feel so much pressure over it. Whereas if you just look at it from like more of a structured strategy approach where it's like, nope, this is my topic for today, I can do this. It just seems to flow a little bit easier for people, and it helps make sure that you're also aligning your social media with your goals. Because otherwise, sometimes if you have these goals, but you need content, so you're just going to write content today because that just needs to happen. You may not be writing for your actual business goals. You may just be writing to put something out there because you just feel like you have to. And I would argue that you have to kind of take a step back at it and just look at it like, does this make sense? Because how much time does that take you? And if it takes you an hour to write a social media post, then how long is that taking away from other aspects of your business? So I don't know, I could talk about this forever, but I would love to kind of know some specifics and some questions from you guys on what you guys are going through, and just kind of, we can kind of troubleshoot all together if you guys are okay with that. And if you have any questions about anything I said, because if anyone watches Gilmore Girls, I feel like I talk like Lorelai Gilmore, where it's like, so, anyway.
If you want, you can unmute yourselves and ask any questions, or you can, if you don't want to show your face on the recording, just pop them in the chat. But I did have one question to kick it off.
Yeah.
So you mentioned photo shoots, and obviously for social media, images are what really grabs people.
Yeah.
So with your 5 pillars, do you use your 5 pillars? I mean, you have your blog, but for like a service-based business, do you use your 5 pillars when you're looking for, when you're scheduling your photo shoots, or when you are looking for stock images? Is that what you would do? Just keep them in mind as you're searching for graphics? And
I would keep them in mind. So I have a therapist who is a client of mine. And so when I think about her content, I also think about it from the 5 pillars standpoint, because we're using more stock photography for her because it's harder to do like a client photo shoot for something like that. But I still like to think of it like that because she has other avenues of her business. She has one-on-one appointments. She has her blog that is a whole separate thing. She has a product that she sells. She has a whole wellness center that she rents space to other wellness providers for. So we are able to easily get to that 5 by doing that. So I still think of it. Now, I may sub in a quote for her for the 5th pillar versus like, talking about the same service every day. But yeah, I still kind of think about it that way. And I do think about it when I'm doing photo shoots too, because if it's not more of like a personal branding photo shoot, a personal branding photo shoot can be a little different than a photo shoot for, I don't want to say for social media because they're both for social media, but they can just be different a little bit. But I still think about it and keep it in the back of my head, knowing full well that we may be using some stock photography over here a little bit, or some quote cards or things like that. So.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
So I have tons, so I can keep going. But if you have questions, um,
Yeah, can I ask a question about a lot of people are really pushing video.
Yeah.
Like video is the place to be. You've got to do it. You've got to get comfortable with it. And I agree with that to some extent. But there's a lot of people who just are not comfortable with putting a lot of video out, or, you know, you worry about, is what I'm saying really even worthy of taking up these people's time? Like some people get on and just babble, right? And
Yeah.
so what are your feelings about how do you mix that in?
So if our friend Beth was here, she would argue that video is very, very, very important. And I agree with her, but I feel like if you're not going to be able to get on there and feel confident and love it, it's not worth your time. Like, because, or putting out there, because you have to portray what you want people to pick up, right? So if you're just kind of like, I don't know about this, I would just wait. That's why I don't ever do lives, like ever. You'll never see me do a Facebook or Instagram live because there's something about the fact that I can't mess up and re-record it that like I can't do it. But I will do pre-recorded videos and I may take 100 of them that you don't see and I would put that out there. So I think it really does go hand in hand with your comfort level. And if the video is just not something you love, I would just practice until you love it, or just commit to that not being your thing. You can also do like more like a slideshow type video where you're not talking, but it still grabs the reader's attention, where it's more photos and copy and things like that. And I can actually send you some examples of some that even Beth, who is the one that does my videos for my courses, that she's put together that I've loved when I've needed her to do some stuff for clients. But it still helps us reach that goal of content, of video being really great content without anybody feeling like stage fright. Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, good.
on the topic of, I like how you mentioned that you don't go on live. I've tried going on live when I can muster the courage,
Yeah.
but it's, for some reason I can't connect even if nobody else is on the internet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess it's not going to happen. So I like how you mentioned though that you pre-record the videos. So is that for like IG stories, and then do you batch record them?
You should see how many things get deleted if I try to do an Instagram story where I'm talking. Like, it is insane. But yes, I will do, I record a lot of things before I actually post it. So I'll record a good amount of stuff and then finally be like, okay, this can go out into the world. And sometimes I need like 24 hours. So like, okay, I need to watch this now, I need to watch this later when I'm not so hypercritical of myself, and then go back. For clients, I do the same thing. A lot of times I'll do a lot of videos on site one day and then go back and post them over the course of the next month. So I do that as well for people that I'm not necessarily, it's not a face that's the brand, it's more whatever the restaurant, it's things like that. So yeah, I will batch record, and then I will also give myself a little time. But I do that with my writing too. I write and then I give myself a little time before I'm like, okay, this is good enough to go out into the world.
Yeah.
So.
In terms of batching, how far ahead do you batch your posts or your stories, that kind of stuff?
Right now, about like 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time, if I'm really on top of my game for clients. And for myself, for 614 Moms, sometimes it's a little bit more on the spot because it's more just kind of when things hit me and I'm like, I really want to talk about this because this is where I'm inspired, but I can do that there. But for my clients that I'm working with on their stuff, I try to get all of my content planned and ready in my systems. I keep looking at my empty desk, like my calendar's here. Like, you guys can see that I'm visualizing my calendar. But I try to have all of my content planned, and at least I know that, okay, today we're going to do an Instagram story of what the bar looks like on a Saturday night. And we're going to really feel the vibe here. So then I would go out either the last week of the previous month or the first week of that month and get enough video for the month, so that I don't have to go back out over and over and over again.
Okay, cool. Again, you guys can put stuff in the chat if you have questions, or I can keep going. So
If you, I don't want to interrupt questions, but if you use a service like Later, which is the scheduling service I use, you can actually schedule Instagram stories. Oh, sweet baby. You can like schedule Instagram stories so that you can, it'll remind your phone that that's the Instagram story you're posting that day, which is helpful in terms of working ahead like that.
So you wouldn't use something like Planoly where it posts for you? You would have it message you and say, hey, post this thing?
So I haven't used Planoly in a long time because Later has just been what I've been using for the last little bit. So I'm not familiar with their updates, but does Planoly post Instagram stories for you?
They do. I think they do. I've only used it to post like actual posts, not stories.
Okay.
I know they have a stories tab and then they have their own app for stories.
Okay. So Later, well, I use Later to publish all of the content on a feed. That is like definite. I always, but Instagram stories, unless something has changed recently, I didn't know of anyone that, any service that could publish it for you. I just always thought that it had to notify you, but that may be a later thing. But if you could, then yeah, I would say it would be worth it to just have it planned out and ready and sent out. As long as you could add the other pieces to it. So you would want to add like a GIF or a hashtag, because you can really incorporate a lot of hashtags in Instagram stories. So if you're not able to do that, then I would just have it notify you so that you can put that stuff in manually really quick and then send it out. Because hashtags are important at least on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so you brought up hashtags, so
Yeah.
I want to hear all about hashtag stuff.
Yeah. Any specific question or just anything I've got?
I feel like, you know, I'm using the same ones all the time, and I don't know if that's a good strategy, because then you're trying to get people to see you over and over, like the same people, or
Yeah.
if you should keep mixing it up so that, like you said before about different times, like you don't know who's on a certain time, so I don't know what they're following exactly.
Yeah.
So like, what's your strategy when you're putting hashtags in?
So I have 3 different hashtag groups that I use. And I think about the word I was going to use there. 3 different hashtag groups that I use, and then I just kind of cycle them through. And so for hashtags, one of the whole point of using a hashtag is that you want new people to see your stuff, engage with it, and then follow you. So if you're using hashtags that are too popular, like hashtag Saturday, then that's going to kind of defeat the purpose, because it may have a certain look, and that's more of what you're going for, and that's fine, but it's not going to give you the goal, which is more people. So I will have like 3 different hashtag groups that I use, cycle them through, and then look and see, like on analytics, you can see which hashtags are bringing people. And so if one is just consistently not bringing people to see like your stuff, then I would just scrub it and try to find something else. The difficulty with hashtag and hashtag research is that you want it to be popular enough that people follow it, but not so popular that so many people use it and they won't see the stuff. So like for example, a few ones in Columbus, like hashtag like as seen in Columbus, Columbus Navigator, like some of the big media groups, you can use those, and those are good ones to use. Or like Midwest or Ohio, like those are some good ones. But again, if you were to just like Throwback Thursday, I don't know that anyone's actually seeing that, maybe, but I feel like at this point it's kind of just so popular. So, but then also if you work on SEO at all for your website, think about SEO and hashtags kind of similarly, because they both have similar goals, just different platforms. So if you're one of your SEO keywords is Columbus, Ohio, then those are mainly the hashtags you'd want to focus on. Does that help?
It does. So when you are, like, say you have an Instagram and you're putting on, you're playing with different hashtags, and how it pops up for you kind of populates, and you see one that's like, 500 versus, 2.2K, right?
Yeah.
So is there a magic number where you're like, no, that's too big, but this one's too small? Like, where would you kind of look at?
The ones that have like hundreds of thousands of posts in there, or if you go and you search the hashtag and you're like scrolling through it and everything's posted within the last couple of seconds, then that's not going to do it for you. I would just kind of forget that one, and we'll find one that's maybe a little bit more specific. So maybe instead of hashtag Saturday, it's hashtag Small Business Saturday, or something along those lines. Or maybe it's instead of Small Business Saturday, it's Small Biz Saturday, or something like that. Like, there's always a workaround. But I don't know that there's a magical number, because sometimes hashtags can be really popular for a while and then they're dead. And then so people aren't following them as much. But I think you really have to just go look at each individual hashtag to see if it's currently being used and at what capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I played around with the different hashtags, and it's interesting, like you said, to see which ones generate new activity, but I'm just getting a lot of likes.
Yeah.
I'm not getting additional followers.
Are you also engaging with that hashtag and doing things like that?
As far as what?
Like, as far as like the same people that are following, like the same people that are liking your stuff and engaging with your stuff, are you engaging back and kind of building that a little bit?
I don't think there's been enough consistent.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, the people aren't coming back. They're not liking multiple posts.
Yeah. I would the people that are new, that are coming in and liking your content, I would just try to engage with them a little bit. And whether it's liking their posts or commenting on something, just kind of keeping your name. Because remember, a lot of times people don't see, like, if I'm going to Yasmin's post, I'm probably not going to go look and see who all liked her post unless I was really stalking her. That's not something I would do. But I would notice if a business or a person commented on her thing, because that's a little bit more clear. So I would try to comment on as many people as possible, on especially Instagram. And now Facebook, you can do it too from your page. You can comment from your page on other people's pages. And Facebook actually made it a lot easier in the last couple of days to do that, which is surprising, because normally they're making my job much harder. But so I would do that. I would try to comment on, like, if they come in and they like your post, that they're not following you, just, comment back. Try to engage conversation in a very genuine way, and just see if you can kind of build that connection there. Because someone on their feed may see it and be like, what's that? And then be interested and come over and look. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Commenting is huge for engagement for businesses. I recommend that a lot. Commenting from your business page on other platform or on other accounts.
Okay, so we have two questions in the chat. We have one, have you used Hootsuite, and what are your thoughts on it? And then can you register a hashtag?
So I have used Hootsuite. I have a client right now that's the franchise is on Hootsuite, and so that's where everything goes from there. And Hootsuite is a good platform. I just personally prefer Later. I think it's more user-friendly, but it doesn't mean that it's not a great platform, because Yasmin, you said you've used it for years. I think it just depends on personal preference because there's so many. There's Hootsuite, Later, Planoly, and isn't there another one that's similar to Planoly that's like just Plan, I think it is actually. So there's a ton out there. My personal favorite is Later, but Hootsuite is good too. So, and then can you register a hashtag? So that one's tricky because you can't technically register it as yours, but you can kind of create one yourself if it's not already created out there, and then put it in your bio so that people kind of know that that's the hashtag that you want them to use. That's the hashtag that you're using. And you can even put something like, I would have to check how it looks lately, but like 614 Magazine, they have As Seen in Columbus. That's technically their hashtag because that's the hashtag that they have on their website that flows. It's like a consistent feed. But you can always say like Experience Columbus is a better example because I know exactly what it says. It says hashtag EXPCOLS to be featured. So anytime you use that, you're kind of giving them the ability to feature it and tag you. And so you can kind of claim it that way, but there's no official way to register one.
Okay. Yeah, I've used Hootsuite before, but it was years and years ago, so I don't know what it's like now. That was when and that was for another company. They thought that because I could make websites, I could also do social media, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll just copy and paste your text in there because that's all I.
I get that a lot on the opposite end. They're like, well, you're good with content. Like, you can build a Squarespace site, right? And I was like, I mean, I can, but do you want me to is another conversation. So
Yeah.
I always refer to you.
Thank you.
My husband uses Hootsuite for his company and has for a really long time. And he's comfortable there. I don't know that I could ever get him to switch to anything else, but our brains are also very different. So I don't know that, like, I don't know that that says anything.
What
So,
about Pinterest? In case any bloggers are there or anything, because that's really big, but then also I know there's a tool. Well, how do you, 'cause you have to pin so many times a day, right? And then, so how do you do that?
Oh, Pinterest. So I want you to think about Pinterest as a visual search engine or a visual Google versus a social media platform because it really is so different in the way that you use keywords and long tail keywords and all of those things. But a few things for Pinterest. You really want to, there's an app called Tailwind, and I use it all the time. And Tailwind is something that will automatically pin your stuff. So for Pinterest, and they did just come out with a big update that I need to read up on, but to make sure that this isn't different now, because Pinterest is very bad about changing things up on us very quickly. But the goal is on Pinterest, because people don't see it like an Instagram feed where I can see every single thing that you post in this little square rectangle feed. You can post your pin 10 times a day over and over and over again. And the more that you do that, the more people that you're in front of. Similar to like an article on Google, you want to use different keywords and things like that, or similar keywords to kind of get in front of those eyeballs in just different ways. But you also, for Pinterest, want to make sure that you have very visually appealing graphics, because if your graphics are not catching the attention, people are just going to scroll right by. Pinterest is also really good because people can shop from Pinterest. They can read articles from Pinterest. Like, there's so many different benefits to it. So I love it. I actually teach a class on it because it's a whole mountain. So, but Tailwind is the app that you can use. And I have that set up. I set it up with content at the beginning of the month so that it just kind of runs without me. And you notice when you don't do that, because I went from having like tens of thousands of monthly views on my Pinterest page, this month having like 2,000 or something, and it's because I haven't pinned anything. I haven't scheduled anything to go out there. So you really can see a huge difference in pinning versus letting it just flow. So, which is why I think the systems are so great, because you put the systems in place and then everything gets to just work for you. And that is just so nice.
So is when I ask the question about Pinterest, is it like if somebody asks, what is SEO? Can you tell me about that? It's like the deep.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it's not so cut and dry, because it is like, you know, you want to do so many things, and it's for a creator, it's not nearly as fun as it was for me when I was like in my postpartum like bubble after kids, or I was like, that looks fun, that looks fun. Now I'm like, so there's a lot to it, but it can be such a beneficial tool to businesses of all sizes, because there is the ability to shop right there on the app. So, which is nice.
All right, so we've got our 5 pillars. We've started gathering images. We're getting our calendar started. And then one question that was sent in was to ask about copy and how the length of copy. This was specific to Instagram, but I'm assuming it can go for, I don't know, Facebook and stuff. But the length of copy and how to write something that is going to connect with audiences versus them just kind of like scrolling, liking, and scrolling.
Whew, that's a big question. So length of, so we'll just go Instagram for a minute, because you said that this was a question specifically for that. It can change. It can be similar on other platforms. Because as we know, Twitter has like a character count and things like that. But Instagram, there are a few different ways that you can have a post out there on Instagram. It can be inspirational, educational. It can be more of just a really like a miniature blog post. There's a lot of things that you can do out there. And it's really hard for me to give a solid like character count in terms of like how long it should be, because I think it really depends on what the topic is. Because like, you know, if Adidas, we're going to post a new pair of shoes, like I don't want to read 3 paragraphs about this new pair of shoes, right? But if you were to write 3 paragraphs about how you started your business, that's interesting to me. So I think it really can depend on the type of content. However, this is where the blogger in me comes out, because if your content is long enough that Instagram is going to cut you off, it needs to be a blog post. Because you don't own Instagram, you don't own Facebook. They could shut down tomorrow and all of your content is gone. But on your blog, it's yours, you own it, you're paying for the hosting, you're paying for all of it, you can get it backed up. So if it's long enough that Instagram's going to cut you off, put it in a blog post, make your Instagram copy smaller, create the call to action as head to the blog to read more, and just make it more of your own. Bring them back to the goal. Is the goal to sign up for the email newsletter? Is it to get website clicks? Just bring them back to that. But then on the flip side of that, sometimes people want to just read a fun quote, and there's a couple hearts and you're good to go. And that's the quote in the image quote card that's in the feed as the picture is enough text. And so you don't need a ton of extra stuff in the copy. Or maybe you do need a whole story in the copy. People connect with people, people connect with stories. So as long as you're really engaging people, you're going to find success. And in terms of, I forget how it was worded, so correct me if I'm wrong, but like how to get people to stop scrolling and actually connect and engage with you. That's where those call to actions come in so much, because sometimes people are reading and they're like, yep, okay. And sometimes it is too long of copy and they're like, I don't have time for this. Like this Instagram is like my guilty pleasure. when the kids are in bed or when it's my lunch break or whatever. But making it very clear, like, I want you to comment below and tell me what your favorite ice cream flavor is. I want you to comment below and tell me what your biggest struggle is in this or whatever. And sometimes it's not so much like, yes, you want to be the thought leader in your industry, in your field, and in your space online, but you also want to give your readers and your followers a chance to teach you. So if everything is always like, let me help you, let me help you, let me help you, they're going to be like, okay, I know I can come here when I need it. But if sometimes you're like, hey, wait a minute, I could really use some help doing research on this. What is your favorite, right? That is huge because people want to help. And if they are able to help the person that's always giving them the content, that feels good. So try that every once in a while. Maybe not all the time, because then people are like, have you heard of Google? But just every once in a while, like, hey, someone the other day, this is like a weird example, but someone the other day posted that like curling irons, like they can never get their hair to curl. And that's my case. But they said that hot rollers work really well. And they linked it, and then I didn't save it. And so I'm like, because I like my hair when it's curly. And so I was thought about going and getting some, but I don't know what to get or whatever. So I may throw that out to the 614 Mom community. Does anyone use these? Because I'm interested, and just kind of see what people come back with, because I would love to hear from them. Like, they're my community, so I'd love for them to give me those recommendations too. So just some thoughts.
Yeah. And then in the chat, what app do you suggest for graphics for Instagram?
So I use Canva Pro and they have a lot of stock images that I use.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah. And because you can also format it to exactly the specifications of an Instagram post, so nothing gets cut off or anything. Just do not get on there and screen grab it to where it has the Canva waterprint on it and then post it like no one's going to notice. Don't do that. We notice. But Canva has some free stock photography, right, Jasmine?
Yep.
Some, and then some that you have to pay for. I have the pro account, and it's like $12 a month, I think. And that way I can just pull stock photography off of there for social media and stuff, which is helpful.
You
So
can
that's
also,
what I would recommend.
and I don't know if this is, but usually for websites, Pexels is like, if you really can't find anything, Pexels is usually good. And if you're on a budget as well. And then you can pop those into Canva. Yeah, Canva is great because for clients who have to create their own like banners and crop them and they don't have Photoshop, Canva is really good because then you can just download it as a lighter file so that it's not so hefty. When you download it from Pexels, it's like this huge file. So that's what I usually recommend.
I love it. You're speaking a foreign language to me. I'm like, what? Heavier file? I don't know. Tell me how to save it.
Again, that's like a deep dive. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. Embarrassing story. Yesterday I texted a friend and asked what a certain file was called, and she was like, or how it's saved. And she's like, that's how it's saved. And I was like, oh, never mind. Because I didn't realize that like what we call it is what it's saved as. And I felt like an idiot, and I just told everybody, but whatever. I was like, what? Wow. So anyway.
All right. So does anybody else have any questions? You can also, I'm assuming, unless Erin doesn't want your questions, you can also message Erin.
I love questions, and I can talk about this stuff for hours, so feel free. Not to mention, I'm stuck at home, and today I went to the doctor, and I was like rattling things off, and I was like, I'm so sorry, you're the first human besides my husband I've talked to in like 4 weeks. So like, you're just gonna hear all of my thoughts. So,
I had to get something notarized, and wearing my mask trying to get into the bank was very odd.
Yes.
But then we sat down and she was signing, and I'm like, how was your day? How are your nails still so good? Like, yeah.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm
So feel
sorry.
free, please email me, send me a message, whatever. I would love to chat.
All right. So where else can we? Oh, so when do you think maybe you still have your waiting list, right, being built up for the digital course?
Yeah. So I have so I have Blogging Basics and Business of Blogging, which are 2 courses that I've taught for a couple years now that are going online. And then I have 2 new courses. One is how to conduct an online audit for yourself, which is pretty in-depth. And then also how to automate your content, which is like my favorite thing ever. So I have those. And then I also, the social media classes will be coming shortly after those are up and everything. So there's a wait list you can join so that you're the first to know. But if you guys are interested in doing something, like interest classes on Friday. So like if you guys are interested in anything before then, just reach out. There's probably something that a class that's out there that's just not as streamlined as my online classes, but they're still fun because we get to do stuff like that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you can do you still have that link, or do you want me to resend
If
it?
you can send it to me again, I can send the PDF for today and then the link as well. And where else can we find you?
Everywhere. So Facebook, Instagram, either under Erin Gilson or 614 Mom. And then LinkedIn under Erin Gilson. TikTok, there are no videos, but I am on there under
I
Erin
started
Gilson.
one too. I just did videos. I was like, well, how do you do this thing? And then I stopped.
I need Beth to teach us how to make a TikTok video. And my daughter really wants me to give it a go. So I've downloaded it. I've been slowly researching it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm everywhere. And then my
Not
website.
Twitter.
Huh?
Not Twitter.
Well, I am on Twitter, but I don't know. I find it really boring. And also I can get pretty heated on Twitter when I see like stupid news articles. So that's not my fave. But I am on Twitter, but I'm everywhere. I most frequently check Facebook and Instagram, also on Pinterest. 614mom.com and ErinGilsonConsulting.com are my website. So
All right, cool.
I'm a really bad rambler. So like my intros and my exits are always like.
Yeah, that's me. I've been trying to get into doing more videos and have like the YouTube stuff and all that going, but then every time my intro is great, I remember my tagline most of the time and to introduce myself.
Yeah.
But then my outro is like, all right, I could probably cut off like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
As we are now. So thank you everybody for stopping in. I will be sending out an email with the PDF, the link, all the links, anywhere you can find Erin as well. Make sure to add yourself to the wait list. That way you can see what her courses are all about. Feel free to reach out to her and check Eventbrite for any upcoming events under Digital Hustle Tribe. You can search Digital Hustle Tribe or Robles Designs and it should pop up. Or you can find us at digitalhustletribe.com. We are also everywhere, mostly on Instagram and Facebook. I feel the same about Twitter. I go on there and then apparently I follow the wrong people because it's all political. So,
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for joining me and Erin and I. So thank you so much, and we will catch you in the next event. Right?
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.